All right, guys, today here at the hillside, we're talking philodendrons. I'm going to show you all the philodendrons I have and how easy it is to grow these amazing plants. So stick around and let's get into this tour. All right, so the first philodendron on this tour is just the very basic Heartleaf Philodendron. We've all seen this in the big box stores, probably in your dentist's office, in schools, everywhere. It's a very common house plant. It grows in low light conditions. It's perfect for that space in your house that doesn't get a lot of direct sunlight, just like a bathroom. In fact, I made a video about the best plants you can grow in your bathroom. I'll leave a link to that up there. However, this plant, I started from a small little plant. This is probably going on 2 or 3 years old. I've cut this back so many times to make new plants out of it. It's a very, very low maintenance. It's a wonderful plant. It's just adds a nice little tropical foliage and just a tropical theme to any area of your house. So definitely, if you're a beginner, start with this before you get into some of the more expensive varieties of philodendrons, like ones I'll show you on this houseplant tour. But yeah, this is a perfect beginner's houseplant for those of you who are just wanting to get into the hobby. All right, so let's go ahead and check out what's next. Okay, so another entry-level philodendron that's a little bit more rare, but it's becoming increasingly popular, is the Philodendron Micans. Okay, now this is a wonderful plant. Again, it's just as easy as the standard philodendron, but check out the back of these leaves. They're a little bit glossy. They're a little purple tinge to them. The leaves are a little bit shinier with a little bit of fuzz on them, actually. This is another great plant for that low light environment. It's very forgiving. You can grow it up a moss pole, or this is actually some bamboo that I stuck into it as it actually outgrew the moss pole. But like I said, this plant's super simple. You can propagate it. I've made many cuttings off of this plant to make more. So this is yet another easy entry-level philodendron. It's not going to set you back too much, maybe $15 or so for at the big box stores. They're actually becoming very common, very easily to find. So definitely give this one a shot if you like a little bit different. The coloration, I just love these leaves, how they're shiny, because the sunlight, I mean, it's kind of reflecting off of them. That nice little coloration right there. But yeah, the Philodendron Micans, this is one of my favorite plants, actually, even though it's really not considered that rare or really expensive to begin with. All right, so next up on the category of very easy and very common houseplants, this is the Philodendron Brazil. Now, at one time it was considered somewhat rare or difficult to locate. You can find these at the big box stores, guys. These are common. They're everywhere. They're simple to grow, just like other Heartleaf philodendrons. Fun fact, they are just the same actual species as the Heartleaf philodendron, just with a variegated pattern. So everything about this plant applies to the initial one that I showed you. It just has the different colorations, which is pretty awesome. Like this leaf here in particular, I really like how that has that contrasting of the variegated qualities of the leaf. Awesome plant. Like I said, this is just a baby. I just got this, so it's not that impressive, but it will grow and it will continue to just produce nonstop in the normal household environment. So let's see what else we got. All right, so next on the list is the Philodendron Bloody Mary. So this plant I got as a small cutting. This is actually a little bit more on the rare and a little bit more on the expensive side. You're not going to find this most likely in the big box store. So definitely, if you do have the opportunity to get one of these, take that opportunity, and because this is just beautiful. This nice dark stem on it is almost bordering on like a darkish blackish purple color. This dark burgundy stems and petioles. The leaves on the back have a little different coloration on it. This is just an all-around awesome plant. It does grow fairly slowly. It is a climber, as you can see. Everything about this plant, this is one of my favorite plants. I'm kind of in this purple phase right now, if you couldn't tell from the Micans over there. But the Philodendron Bloody Mary, this plant is amazing. It grows, like I said, it grows slowly. I have yet to propagate this plant, although I'm probably going to do it very shortly because it's kind of reached the end of the moss pole here. So we'll be actually cutting that and propagating it, and hopefully the cuttings will take. Shouldn't be a problem, but this puts on tons and tons of aerial roots, all these different nodes, so tons of opportunities for the propagation material. And what's not better than having more of your favorite plant, right? So let's go ahead and tour some more philodendrons. Let me show you what I got just next. All right, so next up is the Philodendron Burlmarks. Okay, so this is getting into more of the harder to find, less commonplace house plants. However, this plant is, I really like the shape of the leaves, this nice division where it's kind of splitting like this. This is into a different category of the philodendron that's not quite so much just the typical heart-leaf variety that you might see. And this right here is actually a division I took from this plant, which is why it's kind of growing on one side. But this plant, it's a slow grower. However, it does put on some nice big leaves. So if you're into kind of more of a bigger plant, you have some space to fill up, I recommend this plant, the Philodendron Burlmarks. There are variegated variations of this that are much more expensive and much more difficult to find if that's your thing, but be prepared, you will be spending a little bit more money to get something like that. However, just the standard green variation to me is perfectly fine. I really like just these bigger leaves on it. It gives a little bit of contrast to some of the more typical heart-leafed philodendron shapes. So anyways, this is obviously, we'll be able to propagate from cuttings. You can kind of check out this right here. This is a big aerial root, which is pretty cool. So, when you find a way to divide your plants, you need to make sure that there are some roots on it as well. And right here, again, these are where the aerial roots or the node roots are going to start producing. So when it does come time for you to propagate your plants, this is what you want to look for, a really well-established root nodes like that, which is going to definitely help you with your propagating efforts. So moving on, let's show you some more of the rarer or more difficult to obtain philodendrons I have in my collection. All right, so obviously I can't bring this to the table, so I'm bringing you to the plant. This is the Philodendron Brandiantum, or just maybe some people call it the Philodendron Brandy. This was at one point, again, a much more rare, but becoming increasingly more popular house plant. This philodendron obviously is a climber, and it is just going gangbusters here in this corner. It gets nice indirect light from the window behind you. This near the humidifier, so it does get the nice humid air. This kind of corner stays pretty humid and moist, so it does love this. So if you are interested in a more of a variegated type heartleaf philodendron, like the different colorations on it, it is very fast growing. It's easy to propagate. It's really not much variety on the back of the leaf, just a little bit of the silver kind of two-tone coloration on it. However, like I said, this plant is so easy to propagate. It's also a little bit expensive depending on where you get it and how big of a plant you want to actually obtain. However, like I said, once you get it going, keep it something to climb on, and it will absolutely just climb absolutely fast. It'll climb over anything. It will grow amazing. The leaves on it, I do need to cut this back. It's kind of getting straggly, but I need to cut it back, make some more cuttings, and hopefully promote more of a bushier habit on the plant. So again, this plant is a really fast grower. It's really a nice plant. Now let me show you something that's a little bit different. It has a little bit different growing conditions than the typical philodendron you may be used to. All right, so continuing along. Now this, if you don't know, is the Philodendron Perezo Verde. Now this plant, it is a philodendron, but the growing conditions are a little bit different. Now, as I mentioned before, a lot of the philodendrons are perfectly adapted to the low light jungle type habitat. However, this plant actually needs bright, direct light. Now you see the coloration on these leaves, a little variegation, a little different patterns. Okay, when it's exposed to bright sunlight, it's actually going to start putting on these different colorations. If you put it in a dark area, it's just going to have standard flat, just dark green leaves. Okay, you're not going to bring out the nice variegation in it like this. You see the different coloration. So if you have something that's not quite as a dark room, or you have maybe an indirect bright window, you might want to give this guy a chance. Okay, now this is a little bit more expensive depending on where you get it from. I've seen these go for up to $40, $50, even $60, which is, I think, a little bit overpriced, quite honestly. However, I'm actually going to start propagating this plant as it's kind of outgrown this little bamboo pole and this little tiny pot here. But I mean, this thing has so many nice aerial roots that are ready to be cut. And I mean, this is just a super healthy plant. I really like this a lot. The coloration on it, the different variegations on it, I think is pretty fascinating, as it's kind of getting a little bit, I think there's some insect pressure maybe on this. So I think it's time to actually kind of propagate this and give it better soil and kind of get a restart the growth on it. It'll be much more healthier, because like I said, when I first started having this plant, I kept it in the dark. I thought it was a philodendron. It didn't really grow at all. It just kind of sat there and did nothing. It was dark green leaves. I was kind of disappointed. until I figured out this thing needs bright light, and it just took off. You can just tell how much growth this has put on in a short amount of time. The coloration of the leaves has really started to really show the difference in the patterning on it. So this is a really great plant. Like I said, it can be a little bit more expensive, a little bit harder to find. It does, in a way, kind of resemble the Burle Marx with the this variation of the leaves there, which I kind of like that feel. Like I said, it kind of breaks up the monotony of just a standard heartleaf shape and or colors. All right, so let's talk about some other interesting hybrids that you can probably find in the big box store. It's a really common plant. Let me show you what it is. Okay, so this common philodendron is actually a hybrid. It is called Philodendron Birkins. Okay, now again, this is a plant that will actually benefit from more of a more brighter light. As like I mentioned, the last Perezo Verde. See the variegation coming in these leaves like this? This is a result of being in the sunlight, which is going to help it put on those colors. Again, when I first got this, I kept it in the dark, kind of thinking it was a philodendron, so it should be in the dark, low light area. And I had pretty much just standard flat green leaves, which was disappointing. Put it in the sunlight, and it started making, more of a variegated pattern. Now this is actually a bush, or maybe not bush, but a compact growing philodendron. It's not going to vine, which is awesome if you don't want to have plants climbing up things in your house, which some people find that cool, maybe me. Anyways, but check it out. So this, where I say like a hybrid, some really weird genetics go on. So sometimes you get some crazy leaves like this, which is I think is an interesting facet of this plant. However, it's unpredictable. It may revert back to its parents and just be just a standard green leaf, depending on the growing conditions and just the genetics of the plant itself. But yeah, so I like this plant because it is a low growing, kind of a more of a compact philodendron. So it kind of fills in a different space in the window there. I don't really have room for another pole to grow on. So yeah, definitely check this out, the Philodendron Birkins, if you don't want to have a big vining plant. But it does offer some nice, interesting variegation on the leaves, which is a good contrast to just a standard green foliage plants you may have in your house already growing. So let's take a tour upstairs to the plant room. I'm going to show you a couple more of my philodendrons that are not quite very big or very mature yet. They're just starting off, but you know what? I'm going to show you how they look now. Then maybe sometime in the future I make a video, an update, when they're full size. You can look back to this video and see where they started at. All right, so let's go for a little field trip. Okay, so I mentioned I have some baby plants that are not quite big enough to really be out on their own so far, but I took this out of the little greenhouse propagation I have. This is the Philodendron Melanochrysum. Now this is also another low growing. It's not going to climb. It's going to have massive leaves on it eventually. It does, however, need a very humid environment. That's why I keep it in my propagation greenhouse where it stays very moist and humid in there. So this is a little bit more of a fussy plant. However, the reward in the future is going to be amazing. So I definitely will keep you guys updated on that when the time comes. So let me show you a couple other baby plants I have and talk about the potential they have for the future. Okay, so this is called the Blushing Philodendron. I actually got this on clearance. It had one leaf. It was practically dead. I brought it back to life. It is really enjoying the humidity of the plant room up here. But check out these leaves, the coloration on it, okay? So that's, I think, why it's called the Blushing Philodendron, because more of the pinkish blush color on the new growth like this, but also the kind of the paler new shoots that pop out that will eventually turn to this nice arrow-shaped green leaf. However, this, like I said, it was a rescue, so hopefully it does mature and I'll be able to update you when this plant gets much bigger in the future. So let me show you one or two more very interesting philodendrons I have and kind of wrap up this really long tour. So if you stuck this far into the video, guys, please give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below about what your favorite philodendron was on this tour. All right, so let's go ahead and check out one of the other more kind of spendier, more rare or difficult to obtain philodendrons on this little houseplant tour today. Okay, so this is Philodendron Gloriosum. Okay, now I got this as a cutting, very small plant. It also has the shinier leaves on it, just like the Micans kind of did. The back of it's not really too exciting. You really get one color, but this plant, again, will have massive leaves in the future. Hopefully I'm gonna grow it out with some beautiful, beautiful foliage. Like I said, I got this just as a cutting, so it's very small, really nothing to really brag about or kind of display so far. But like I said, this is another low growing, kind of a crawling philodendron, so it's not gonna grow up a big pole and take up a lot of space. So that's maybe a benefit to a lot of guys and gals out there who don't really want to dedicate a pole or have to worry about plants vining all over the place. So this, again, is going to be awesome in the future, but right now it's really not that impressive. I understand that, but I just want to show you guys this as kind of an idea. If something like this interests you, give you some ideas what you might want to add to your collection. And if you buy a full-size plant of this, you're going to pay a lot of money. Okay, so buying it from a cutting is going to save you a lot of money, but it's going to take a lot of time to kind of get the full mature plant. So it's up to you what you want to do, but I just went from the cutting route. That's what works best for me. Like I said, if you want to spend a lot of money, you can get a full-size one of these plants. They are beautiful, they're worth it, but it's up to you if you want to spend that kind of money on a plant. So let me go show you one or two more things, and this plant tour will be over, I promise you, very soon. All right, guys, I know I said there was 2 plants left, but there's actually only 1. Now, long story short, I got a mystery box of some plant cuttings, and this was one of the recipients. This is a philodendron, I believe. I don't know. Okay, so if you know what this plant is called, please leave a comment down below. I don't remember the label or what it was, but this is just basically a single leaf. It's rooted, it's still alive. I've had it for almost 3 months now, and it really hasn't put on any new growth. So I did kind of repot it and just double check. It does have healthy roots. It's still alive. This single leaf is what it came with. Nice little coloration, a little bit of burn from the being too close to the grow lights, I believe. Anyhow, new growth is going to come on. It's going to be wonderful, and this old leaf will probably be eventually chopped off as the plant matures. So that's really what I have for this last little update here. So maybe in the future, this thing will be full and lush and beautiful, and we can just talk about how it came from a single leaf in a mystery box that I have no idea what it is. I think it's a philodendron. It might be. I hope so, because that wouldn't be really good if it's on a philodendron houseplant tour and it'd be something different. Okay, anyways, so thanks for hanging out, guys, here at the hillside with this little philodendron tour. Again, leave a comment down below what your favorite philodendron on this tour was. And you guys, I'll see you next time here at the hillside. Hopefully we'll be outside where it's nice spring weather is finally starting to just slowly creep its way back in. But right now it's just a little bit too cold to really set things outside and get stuff growing outdoors. So I guess we'll be doing a couple more indoor videos until the time comes to move stuff outdoors safely. All right, guys, until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you here at the hillside. Bye-bye.